This is Brian Carlton for ABN Newswire. I'm back at the November Symposium Resources Roadshow from the Forum at Westpac headquarters in Kent Street in Sydney, where ASX listed resources companies get a chance to spruik their wares directly to existing shareholders and I guess potential new investors too. All important while having a nice drink and some nibblies. Presenting today was trend-bucking Perth company Alkane Resources, ASX code ALK, a multi-mineral explorer with experience operating the Peak Hill gold mine in New South Wales and with ongoing operations still focused on the central west of New South Wales, the other end of the country, which is often, and I guess unfairly, overlooked when we think about Australia's booming resources sector. Alkane's Managing Director Ian Chalmers was tasked with the microphone today. He joins me now. Ian, welcome to ABN Newswire.
Thank you.
Now, you operate in, by Australian standards, a pretty tight geographical area, but across a range of minerals, gold, zircon, niobium, a suite of rare earths as well, other rare earths. Was that a deliberate strategy or just sort of a happy accident?
No, deliberate strategy. When we developed Peak Hill Gold Mine in 1996, we saw the potential of the region and we said we should focus here.
Let's talk gold first, specifically the Tomingley project. How big is that resource?
It's quite a small deposit, about 650,000 ounces.
Okay.
But if we can make it work, and we're still getting on the final stages of feasibility study,
right,
it'll be a nice little cash flow project for the next 10 years. Okay,
and what sort of things might you be funding with that?
Ongoing exploration and development, I think is the way you describe it.
The leading question, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, you've got a joint venture with the US giant Newmont, and it is the US giant near Orange. What's it's a significant gold deposit, is it not?
It is.
Yep.
It's 3 million ounces defined today. It's probably the biggest greenfields gold discovery in Australia in the last 5 years. So it's a substantial discovery. It's run by Newmont now. They took over management about 2 years ago, and it's really very much in their hands as to where it goes.
What sort of holding do you have in that project now?
Currently 49%.
Okay.
They have the right to go to 75% if they present us with a bankable feasibility study and a decision to mine.
And they're working on that now?
They're working on that, yep.
Right. That's a big partner, isn't it? I mean, you're not dealing with the little guys here.
No, it's been an interesting exercise for us to deal with somebody like Newmont, a big gold company, and obviously a lot of infrastructure involved in the company, but interesting to deal with.
How long would you expect that bankable feasibility study to take?
Unfortunately, it's very difficult to predict. I mean, Newmont being an international company has a lot of priorities, and really it will depend where the project sits in their priorities. I mean, it should only take 2 or 3 years, but it might take longer than that. Okay.
Now let's talk rare earth minerals for a second. Much in the news lately. China's been worried about a lack of supply to feed its ever-expanding manufacturing sectors, pulled back its exports. Prices are expected to rise, as is demand. It's all good news, and you're sitting on a world-class resource at Dubbo, dubbed the DZP.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Look, it is a world-class resource, but it's a multi-metal resource. It's zirconium, niobium, yttrium and the rare earths.
Okay.
And that's what gives it a very distinct advantage at present, in that the product output is spread right across those 4 metals, and the cost is spread right across those 4 metals. But when we make it work, when we bring it on stream in about 3 years' time, it'll be the biggest heavy rare earth producer outside of China.
Wow.
Which is interesting comment, but it means that the heavy rare earths, which are the ones which are in greatest demand, and it will sort of guarantee the success of the project.
Some of the consumer products, I guess that people watching this would be familiar with. Electronics come to mind. I know they're used in superconductors. What other sorts of applications are there?
Virtually everything you've got that's electronic.
Right.
Start with mobile phones, computers,
iPad,
yeah, absolutely. The phosphor, the thing that glows in your iPad and your TV screen. Rare earth phosphors. That's what drives them. Virtually, in your car, you've probably got 40 or 50 rare earth magnets that do everything from open the doors and shift your seats and keep your electric generator going on it. So they're very, very diverse and a lot of applications.
And of course, every new whiz-bang device that some bright spark invents somewhere requires more of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, at what stage is the project specifically?
We're at the final stages of feasibility study.
Okay.
Should be completed in June next year. We're running a large demonstration pilot plant at Anstow in the south of Sydney now since 2008.
Okay.
We've been producing product off that, distributing it around the world to potential end users, and getting to the point where it's becoming the sort of the last final stages of the study.
So they're obviously happy with what they're getting by way of the sample material?
Yeah, they come back to you. They come back to you with advice and say, look, this product needs us to do this, this and this to it, or yeah, we'd be happy to use this in an application. So the feedback is generally positive, but we've still got to make sure that we get to that final result.
How on earth wasn't this discovered before? Given that so much of the rare earth is, as you say, in China, and I think there's some small amounts in Brazil as well, some.
There's a lot, actually, the rare earth namer is wrong. There are a lot of rare earth deposits around the world. It's turning into an economic reality that's the tough bit. They take a long time to develop the flow sheet, to get it working, make sure you get the metals out, get the products out that you can sell.
Yep.
That's what takes the time. I mean, we've been working on this project now for 13 years.
Okay.
And prior to that, we did some work on it even back in the late 80s and early 90s. So it's a project that's been a long time in the gestation.
Would you be prepared to put a dollar value on it?
It's
always a leading question, I know, a difficult answer.
Yeah, very, very difficult. Look, we've just shown that it's got a revenue stream potential of $135 million a year. The open pit life is at least 200 years.
Wow.
So if you want to multiply 135 million by 200, you'll get an idea of probably what it's worth.
I'll let the viewers do the math. Now, you've been presenting the DZP in Hong Kong this month. How was it received?
Very well, very well. I think a lot of people were surprised how advanced we are. I guess we're not a big out there in your face type company. We just tend to get on and do the job. So the general reaction was, wow, these guys actually have achieved something and they're actually producing product off a demonstration plant.
So they're surprised, are they, that there is that level of resource here in Australia?
They're surprised, not so much about the resource, they're aware of the resources more that we've achieved what we've achieved in the processing.
All right. Now, as of this month, it's easier for US investors to benefit from being an Alkane shareholder. Can you talk me through that?
Yeah, we set up what's called an ADR facility, American Depository Receipts. The final stages of that, we have to set up what's called an OTC, an over-the-counter listing arrangement.
Okay.
Now, that involves a little bit more paperwork and listing through the various agencies in the US. Once that's up and running, it means that US investors can trade just like Australian investors can trade. You ring up your broker,
without the currency issues, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And we use it as a 10 times multiplier, and this is the way the Americans work. I mean, the shares are trading here at 75 cents. It means they'll be $7.50 in the US, but that's a 10 times multiplier. But it just does give all of the big pool of investors in the US a chance to trade directly in Alkane.
To what extent are you exposing yourself to the American market?
Quite substantially, in the sense of what we have to do to maintain that. You know, we've got to maintain the information flow, we've got to maintain the presence from time to time in the US, and we'll certainly be endeavouring to do that.
What was your main pitch to investors today? What's the key hook? What's the story?
The story is, A, the Dubbo Zirconia Project, rapidly closing in on a development decision. When it goes into production, it's got serious revenue generating capacity and serious profit generating capacity. And then as a backup behind that, we've got the smaller Tomingley gold project, and then down the road the larger McPhillamys gold project with Newmont. So that's Alkane. You know, we are again just very tightly focused in one area with cash flow, production generally in mind.
And of course local jobs, local investment, all good for the state of New South Wales and of course Australia as well by inference.
Absolutely.
Ian Chalmers, Managing Director, Alkane Resources, thanks so much for joining me today. It's a great story. This is Brian Carlton for ABN Newswire.